Hello there, you're listening to another episode of Pick a Disc. This time it's the second in our 5 daily episodes coming to you through your podcast feeds. Now, the first one's done, so I'm assuming that you've listened to that one. Now it's time to talk about my fourth favourite album of the year. Now, what I'm actually doing is that because I can't be bothered to do proper editing, I am just talking over the length of the actual music. That is the theme tune, so I'm just padding out this bit. Now, I'm going to see whether I'm going to be able to do this for the next 3 days, and even if I'm going to be able to kind of cue myself up for this, but I need to stop talking soon because I'm getting to the end, and I can tell you my fourth favourite album of the year at any point about now.
Number 4.
World Full of Worry by Peaness. There's a running joke with my friends that my music taste is full of so-called bands with silly names. To be fair, I'd argue that they're more quirky than silly, and they're nowhere near as bad as some death metal band names you can get. I mean, look at them. But out of many of them, the band Peaness has to be up there with perhaps a couple of the silly ones. But the pun on the word penis is apparent. But, you know, the way the band say it and the sound of it and the way it's announced, it's Peaness. And a lot of the merch is all kind of pea, the vegetable, related to.
Hi guys, it's Fran from Over Underrated, and my favourite album of 2022 is the return of the Yeah Yeah Yeahs with Cool It Down, which I think is a Velvet Underground lyric. It's only got 8 songs and it's 32 minutes, so it's brief, but in its brief stay it has 2 absolute bangers with Spitting Off the Edge of the Road with Perfume Genius and Wolf, which is maybe their best single in over 15 years. Carano is a fantastic icon, and I wish they made more albums because they've made maybe 5 in 20 years, so hopefully they will be doing another one soon, and hopefully I get to see this album live. Bye bye.
Peaness are a band that have a kind of punk mentality. They're kind of like quite delve into like political, mental health, self-care, just right kind of sad music. But when you listen to them, they're not. They are kind of jangly pop, like jangly indie pop that's got like a kind of 80s twinge to them. The contrast/juxtaposition of the content of the lyrics of their songs make for a really interesting kind of mix of things. Any long-term listeners of the podcast will know, anyone who follows me on Twitter will know that self-deprecation is like one of the main kind of questionable ways of marketing the podcast, and for some reason. And this album, the band in general, has a strong self-deprecating nature to it, as well as kind of having a sense of defeat, but there's a resolve to soldier on in the hope of the inevitable just in case comes along and things change. And that hope is always in these songs with the kind of upbeat jive. I don't know why I said jive, but it's the closest thing I've got to it. The band themselves refer to them as sad bangers, which, to be fair, is a much better word to use than jive, because the 70s are just starting to ring me and telling me to stop using terminology from the 70s. Peaness's inception to the modern day, the world is getting more and more on a descent. Things appear to be getting worse, and the term dumpster fire feels like it's literal rather than metaphor. These are sentiments the band apply to their songs, and when the band introduces the album, they go through Take a Trip, which is just like a slow introduction, and they kick in with Kaizen, one of their singles, and it's a great way to kind of kickstart the album. Through songs like Doing Fine and Falls Left Behind, where they kind of like question itself in the world and just the inevitability of acceptance, and just saying, yeah, things are just as there is. We can't really do anything about it. And like with the album closing with like the aforementioned sad song, linking back and remembering that you know what, the harmonies are great, the jangled guitars are great, but we are talking about serious stuff, and you just need to remember that.
This is Babs from the Over Underrated Music Podcast, and here is my album of the year. I want to briefly talk about 2 albums, and then I'll pick one. Sorry, Matt, for bending the rules. But I want to talk about Blood Red Shoes' 6th album, Ghosts on Tape, which was out right at the beginning of the year. The Brighton and LA-based alternative rock band have really returned to form after 18 years together. It's the most mature and complex sound, the most genre blending, and it's an absolute triumph. But the album that I'm going to pick as my actual favourite of the year is Nymph by Shygirl. It's her debut album after she had loads of critically acclaimed singles and EPs. I have no idea what genre it is. Is it hyperpop? Is it grime? Is it R&B? But I really like the weird and sensual atmosphere that she creates with these kind of often skittering beats and her mellow and mellifluous voice. Not easy to say. Here's to more fabulous music in 2023.
In terms of the live shows, I've seen these like 3 times this year, but they've always been quite consistent. I saw them quite a few times in 2017 when I first started seeing them live. In 2022, their live sound is just better than ever. I think I saw them in Birmingham in June when they had to postpone because of all sorts of reasons. If you listen to the Peaness podcast, if it's the podcast that they host themselves, you'll probably get a better strength of the story of that. But the live shows are great. They were kind of my headline set and Handmade in Leicester on that kind of mini inner city festival, and I saw them close off their final show of their tour for this year at the Tin Venues in Coventry, and again they're just really good live, and yeah, I can't recommend this band enough. So the band have started to kind of mention or make brief references to the fact they've started writing album 2, and I can't be more excited than I already am. I really liked this album. I've really liked everything the band has done. I've been waiting ages for this album. It's probably been about, good 5 years since I first listened to them when this came out, and I'm so glad that it's the best thing they've done so far, and I can't wait to see what Peaness do in the future.